Hello, welcome to Lemon News, where we talk anything and everything entertainment. Of course, the Lemon himself, Zeke Lemon, and this is my ranking of the main roster titles within WWE. But before we get into that, let's get the house clean out of the way. Share, to leave a like, comment below, let me know your ranking of the titles, and of course, hit that subscribe button as it helps me grow into my YouTube career. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, all that out of the way, let's get into the ranking, shall we? So, we kick off this list at number 11 is the World Tag Titles. Those are the tag titles that are on Monday nights. The bottom two can honestly be very interchangeable, 11 and 10. But I put the World Tag Titles last just because I believe number 10, there is still somewhat of an effort to get it to have stories within it. While the World Tag Titles, there is this constant start and stop. I thought we were going to really try to rehab it post WrestleMania when the New Day won it, because there was a lot of outrage that the World Tag Titles got booked on WrestleMania and the WWE Tag Titles did not. And I think rightfully so, because the WWE Tag Titles, they are much higher on this list. There is a lot more effort and there is a lot more TLC within those titles. And I'm not talking about tables, ladders, and chairs, although they do have that too. It is that I understood that choice to do that, because if the WWE Tag Titles are, they're healthy, to give these World Tag Titles some heat and to give them some more importance. You book them on the biggest show of the year and therefore be like, oh, these titles are important. There's just that psychology element within that. Now, most of us, called the BS on it, and again, rightfully so. But, New Day winning the World Tag Titles, I think was the right choice. And then we did nothing with it. And, the New Day is really the crux of this whole thing, because we had so many opportunities, right? The New Day turned heel. It's like, okay, now they can get on a little bit of a winning streak because they turned bad. They can win the World Tag Titles, and then we can really put some heat behind these belts. Then we didn't really capitalize on the heel turn, and then when we finally did, it was a little too late. And again, it was a forced, hey, take these titles important because they're on WrestleMania. Then they win it. Then they don't really defend them, and I don't mind the whole story of, we're going to hold the titles hostage because we don't want to defend them because we are bad guys, but they still need to be showcased. And I think for a good portion, and even to this day, the New Day still kind of resorted to this. I get the U.S. version, right? Because I live in Texas, so I get the U.S. coverage of Raw. So I get commercial breaks, and during the segments that are happening within the commercial breaks are usually where the New Day is, and those World Tag Titles were resulted to that. Then, we do the Judgment Day versus the New Day. And, the Day of Judgment won that one. It wasn't a brand new day. And I was like, okay, so now we're getting somewhere. We did this triple threat tag tournament thing. And then we had the match with LWO, which comes from out of nowhere. And now they're back into obscurity again. It's just a prop for the Judgment Day now. They never defend them. They're not even talked about. They don't even want to know what they are going to be doing with those belts. There's just no effort within them whatsoever again. And it's just constant start and stop. And, with the depth that the SmackDown tag division has, I'm still overall not a fan of having a draft, especially now that, we're having people move around just free willy-nilly. I think you finish the year off, and then once you get past 42, then you do another draft. But when we do the inevitable draft that is coming, whether it be this year or next year, the Raw tag division is one that we do have to really address really hard, and really throw some of those teams from Friday nights and throw them over. I think a Los Garza can do really good now that they don't have the AAA tag titles anymore. Motor City Machine Guns, I think, on the Red brand will be very, very beneficial for that brand. Keep the New Day on Monday nights and have them mix in with those. Send the Viking Raiders over to, they're not the Viking Raiders anymore. Send the War Raiders over, because the depth over there on Monday nights is just not there. Maybe the Creeds need to head over to Friday nights as well. And there we can have a little bit more balance within the divisions, because that Raw tag division is just non-existent. And honestly, I don't really blame WWE fully for that. I do blame them, but I don't blame them for not having as much coverage on them anymore, because who are they going to face? I mean, the New Day is the only team we care about, and then we also care about the Judgment Day. No one else really matters. I like the the War Raiders. I keep calling them the Viking Raiders. I like the War Raiders, but they've lost too much, and they just lost that aura, and they just need that fresh coat of paint. and I do think it is within blue. So yeah, kicking off at 11, I do think it's the World Tag Titles for the reasons that I did list. And then number 10 is the Women's U.S. title. And I really thought this would be the mid-card title that would get much more focus, because the Women's IC title it's up there. I'll give that away. I'm not going to give you the number, but it is up there. There is a big decrease between this title and the Women's IC title. And, when Chelsea Green won, I was like, okay, we got something here. The stories that we were doing in Meechin were fine, but nothing to really hit into that second gear. And then, she lost to Zelina. I was like, okay, yeah, this could be a little new, fresh coat of paint. And then we didn't do nothing with Zelina. Then Julia wins it, and now she kind of comes and goes. But the reason, again, while the Women's U.S. title got bumped to 10 and it's not at 11, because honestly, they're pretty interchangeable. If you have the Women's U.S. title at 11, I wouldn't necessarily blame you. But since Meechin is at least asking to go for the belt with Kiana James, and Kiana James is paired, and Kiana James is going around actually trying to recruit people for the sake of Julia, that's the only reason that the Women's U.S. title has gone up to 10. But, there has been no stories whatsoever when it comes to this belt. There is no depth within it. Maybe we do need to do something like we did with the Women's IC title. Maybe Bayley needs to go back to the blue brand. Maybe there'll be a little trade over there, because again, we are flipping some people over. Sami Zayn went to Friday nights. LA's now on Monday nights. Maybe Bayley needs to head over to Fridays. And as much as I don't want to take the belt off Julia, because I am a huge fan of hers, and I think the booking of Julia is so easy to do, because her character is that she just wants to win and she'll take on any challengers. I think you could do like a hybrid of Gunther and Cena, where she just does open challenges and she just wins and wins and wins and wins. And then you can build up more mystique, and Kiana James can do the talking. I think there is something there to do with Julia. Julia just needs to be present on the shows, and she needs to be in the goddamn ring and not in backstage segments, which kind of leads us over into number 9. But, just to wrap up the Women's U.S. title, again, it just needs to be showcased. And I think it is an easy fix. We just need to put in the effort to it, and we need to give them the time on the shows. And for those who are like, well, this is why we need a 3-hour SmackDown, I don't think we would have gotten it with a 3-hour SmackDown, because the 3-hour SmackDown formula was, we're just going to keep extending these segments with the people we know people want to see, which I don't fully fault for. But yeah, they did not take a full advantage of showcasing all of the talent within those 3 hours. They just kept it to the usual people that we're used to seeing, and they just stretched those segments very, very, very thin. So whether it be 3 hours or 2 hours, I don't think we would have gotten to this point. But yeah, we do need a lot of fire under that belt. And like I said, number 9, again, it kind of resulted to just backstage segments. I can't really recall the last time she was in the crowd cutting a promo, and that is the WWE Women's title. Again, this list is not a reflection on Tiffany Stratton, it's not a reflection on Julia, and it's not a reflection on the Judgment Day. It's just how they are booked within it, because ever since she beat Charlotte at WrestleMania, which I do overall think was the right decision, we needed to draw a line under it. I think probably would have been beneficial to do 3 rounds within. I think we could have leveled Tiffany up a little bit more. But she went back to face Nia Jax, which, and to talk about my SmackDown review, because I was like, why are we going back to Nia Jax? I'm a huge fan of Nia Jax. Don't get it twisted. I do not dislike her. I think she is a runner-up for most improved or, comeback wrestler of the year when it comes to WWE. She did amazing work on it, and I think it was an absolute crime that she was left off of the WrestleMania card, because I do believe she deserved it. She put in a lot of great work for it. But I've seen Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax like 100 times at this point, and I just don't need to see it again. And the program with Jade, which honestly, if we want to do Jade versus Tiffany again, fine. But we need to have them do promo battles within the ring, and we need to give them more than 3 weeks. And everything that Tiffany's just talking about, like, it's just, again, she just disappears sometimes. There's not really much focus within it. It's just like, hey, she comes out, she yells Tiffy time, and then, here comes Trish Stratus, which was a great match at Evolution. I think it was one of the most underrated matches on that Evolution card. I would make an argument that it was the 3rd best match on it. Well, maybe 4th. That women's tag title was pretty cool too. But anyway, but it was competing for the top, within the top 3 on that Evolution card is what I'm trying to say. Like, Tiffany has the talent for it. I don't know if there's some trust issues since she went off script with the Charlotte stuff. I don't know, but if that's the case, if you have trust issues with her, then you take the belt off of her. And, the match that she had with Jade was also pretty good, too. But again, there was just no follow-up to that whatsoever. And then what we got on SmackDown was like, really? Nia again? Can we please not do Nia? And then we tease against Julia with like a title versus title, but not really fully a title versus title, which honestly, again, with where these titles rank within the ranking, maybe we do need to merge them. But, that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, there's just not a whole lot of focus when it comes to that belt. And, they're saying Tiffany's having this amazing reign. She has the longest reigning out of all the current champions within WWE. And that's because she's not really defending it whatsoever. Like Backlash, she was off the card. Money in the Bank, she was off the card. Saturday Night's Main Event, she was off the card. The other Saturday Night's Main Event, she was off the card. I honestly think post-WrestleMania, she's only defended it at SummerSlam and Evolution. Someone else, and she had the SmackDown match before Night of Champions against Nia Jax. So she has defended 3 times, but again, we just need to light more of a fire under it. We need to give her an actual freaking story, so that way we can elevate this up. Because again, the women's world title, not much of a lead, but it is higher up on this list than this one. Now, moving into the 8th spot, we have the WWE Women's Tag Titles. These next 3, actually, 8, 7, and 6, they are very interchangeable. I could see this being number 6. I could see it go no higher than 6. It could be number 7, but I have it at 8 just because of my trust issues with the titles. Alexa and Charlotte are doing great. They're being featured every single week. I didn't mind the story with the Judgment Day whatsoever, and I really like the partnership of Alexa Bliss and Charlotte. The only reason why it goes down to 8 is that there's not a whole lot of depth within the other tag teams on it. So, we have Judgment Day. We have Roxanne and Raquel. But, we can't go necessarily back to that. We also have the Kabuki Warriors. And then we have the Secret Harvest. So there is depth there, but, there's no one that we like, ooh, we want to see this tag team championship match. Maybe the Kabuki Warriors besides that. But we're doing the Secret Harvest right now, which is fine. But do I ever think the Secret Harvest is an actual threat to those belts? No, I do not. Do I think the Kabuki Warriors are a threat to those titles? Maybe, but not right now because it is too soon to do that. But yeah, we have put in a lot of work into it, but sometimes they do fall into the phantom zone. I mean, post WrestleMania, right? Liv Morgan, Raquel get those titles back, and then they haven't defended it since Evolution when they had that fatal 4-way, but now we're starting to light fire into it. So we will remain to see. This could go up more if it does start to become more consistent within the program, which it is right now. I just need to see a little bit more. So that's why it is number 8. And number 7, I have the Men's United States title. Because again, a lot of these reasonings for where they're at is simply because there's just lack of defenses. And, we're going to talk more about that within another video that is coming pretty soon. Because, LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu was a lot of fun. I had a great time watching that match. And then, the Shinsuke Nakamura vortex, because, he never really defended until LA Knight got the title back. And then Jacob Fatu won it. And then again, he just kind of had it around. Now, Jacob Fatu is a great character. So, it was still cool to see him and everything was going all good. And everything was going great within that, but he just wasn't defending the belt. I cannot really recall who he has defended the title against. Oh, he had that fatal 4-way with Damian Priest, LA Knight, and Drew McIntyre at Backlash. After that, he never defended it again until he faced Solo at Night of Champions. Now, there is some actual story beats going along, programming within it. It looks like we're going to do Solo versus Sammy at Clash in Paris, which is which is a lot of fun. But I do think we're going to go back to Jacob at some point. So we just got to get out of the Bloodline vortex, because I'm also just kind of over the MFTs and Solo and all that. It's the same thing over and over again. Again, another video that is coming pretty soon. But yeah, that's the main reason why this place is at 7. Again, interchangeable, right? And honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I do probably put the U.S. title under the women's tag titles. It just depends on how I'm feeling. But the women's tag titles, they have not been consistent enough, which is why they're 8, 7. The U.S. title was consistent at one point. Is this year where they kind of taken a year, have it fallen off. So It stays at 7 for now, but it can drop if we lose momentum again, which it doesn't look like we are. So we will see. At number 6, I believe this is the second to last women's title. I have the women's world title within it. There's just a problem overall with the women's division within the booking. Besides, the women's IC title, which again we will get to later. But post WrestleMania again, because at one point this was contending for top 3 spot on the booking of the titles. At one point it could have been number 1, but post WrestleMania, Io Sky wins. Doesn't defend it one time at all. She had that mini story with Roxanne and Julia and Rhea, and they were a tag team. And then, they clearly wanted to wait to do the Rhea versus Io match at Evolution, which I understand to a degree, but man, just have her featured. Like, as the women's champion, she was only shown in backstage segments, and she will only show up for like 5 seconds. It's the same with Tiffany Stratton. And then, once we finally okay, we're going to do this Evolution match, one of the best matches of the year. Honestly, probably my contention for match of the year so far is Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky at Evolution. Then, we had the SummerSlam match, which was really good. And we were building momentum, right? Like, there was effort into it because, again, the only reason why we put this at 6, which, again, it can't compete with 8 and 7 as well, is because at one point this was, like, within top 3. It was bronze. At one point, it could have been gold. I can't recall. But we had that the SummerSlam match, and then Stephanie Vaquer was going to most likely win the title at Clash in Paris because we were going to light a fire under her. We will see what's going to happen on Monday with Naomi. We wish her all the best because it is likely that she is going to have to vacate, and you can't, some things you just can't plan for. No one plans for someone to vacate a title. But there was effort into it, but post WrestleMania really hurt this title a little bit, which is why again it drops from what was likely 3rd all the way to the 6th spot, just because there wasn't no follow up to it, because again we wanted to wait to do Io versus Rhea, which again I didn't mind. We just needed to keep it present, and she could have had some filler defenses as we went on. And the 5th spot is the WWE tag titles, because again, the SmackDown division is very, very healthy. They're doing a really, really good job with it. That TLC match at SummerSlam was really good. Those tag champions are being featured every single week in one way or another. When the Street Profits won it, they were defending it. I do believe they faced off against Fraxium, but even when they weren't defending it, they were still very present within the show. Same thing with the Y6 right now. This last week we had like 4 tag team segments. And, I know a lot of people didn't seem to like what the Whites did because, they do it all the time. But I don't mind it. I don't mind it because it is mind games. It's within their DNA. Y6 are scouting Mello, Don't Miz, and Fraxium as they're having their match. And then MFTs and Street Profits are having a little back and forth. And then here come the Wyatts in the background, Joe Gacy looking at them. And then, Mello Don't Miz and Motor City Machine Guns are having a talk. And you see Dexter Lumis in the background looking at it. So those titles are being present. And the more I think about it, I think this is more of a ranking of the divisions themselves as opposed to the titles. But yeah, those WWE tag titles, the division is really healthy. Those titles are very healthy. They're being present in one way, shape, or another. You know who the champions are, which sometimes all the ones that we said before, I wouldn't be shocked if you were to tell me, hey, I forget who's that champion at some point. No, we are now at that point in the list where you do know who the champion is, and you are very much aware because, again, there is that tender love and care within that match, and also sometimes the other TLC tables, ladders, and chairs. Now, the 4th spot, we have the men's Intercontinental Champion. I honestly, this one we probably could have flipped a little bit too, but man, I'm really loving the AJ and Dominic Mysterio stuff. I think that it is one of the best feuds of 2025. Now, there was a portion, again, post-WrestleMania, where Dominic just wasn't really defending it because he faced against Octagon and he faced against Penta. But, Penta, there was actually, some relevance within it. There was an actual story there. And then Octagon did come from out of nowhere. But at least with the men's IC title, unlike the US title, it didn't just drop into obscurity, or it was just a prop for that superstar. Dominic, to me, was at least putting in work every once in a while, even though it was a little bit filler. And again, the stuff with AJ Styles has been great, even when Dominic got hurt. So, thumbs up for me all around when it comes to this men's IC title. We'll see what happens in Paris, because I do believe we're going to do Dominic versus AJ there, especially after what happened at Triple Mania. But yeah, again, could the WWE Tag Titles Intercontinental title swap out? I don't know what swap means, but they could switch. But I am having the men's IC title in the 4 spots, simply because I really do enjoy the Dominic and AJ stuff quite a bit. And 3, the women's IC title. Again, this one could have been really at the bottom, could have been competing with the 9 in the 9 slot. At the bottom of the barrel, but man, what Becky Lynch, Lyra Valkyria, and Bayley have done with this belt has just really, really elevated it, where now it is can't miss. I am excited to see. I'm even looking forward to Becky versus Nikki at Clash in Paris, assuming that is still the plan. I heard Monday it is Natty versus Becky. I assume Becky's going to win, and then Nikki will come out and make the save, and then we can finally get this match official. But, there's actual stories being developed there, and, we're spreading them off through here, because, again, now that I'm thinking about it, this is more about the division itself than about the titles. But Lyra and Bayley are doing their own thing over there, and maybe we need to move some of them over to Friday nights to elevate the other mid-card title a little bit. But yeah, everything that we're doing there, the match qualities have been great. The SummerSlam match, was the weakest out of the 4 that we've had for that IC belt since post WrestleMania. But still, overall a good story, good follow-ups. We have actual programs moving forward. Becky came out after her match with Lyra, and here comes Nikki Bella. So yes, there is a focus on that title. We just need to keep it going. In the 2 spot, we have the WWE Championship. I'm one of the outliners. I did not mind John Cena's heel turn whatsoever, and I did not mind the stuff that we did afterwards either, because it was fun seeing it was like watching an alternate dimension, right? Where Cena's the bad guy and Orton's the hero. Cena's the bad guy, CM Punk's the hero. Seeing him face against R-Truth. He was very active throughout. But, it was very apparent that Cena wasn't going to lose the belt until Cody Rhodes showed back up. And now Cody Rhodes is back. And now we're moving into Drew McIntyre versus Cody. And this WWE title was in the 1 spot for the longest time. Right now is in the 2, but now that Cody has it, maybe we can get back to that 1 seed a little bit. But the reason why I drop it down to 2 is just because there's no jeopardy when it comes to that title. Because even though I'm looking forward to Drew McIntyre versus Cody Rhodes, do I think Drew McIntyre is going to win the belt? No. When Cody Rhodes finished the story at WrestleMania, did I think he was going to lose the belt for a year? No, not at all. Every single competitor that came through, I was like, yeah, no, Cody has to hold on to it until he faced Cena. Then Cena was just like, okay, well, until Cody Rhodes comes back, I'm not going to go. But, the reason why it was in 1 seed was because of Roman's historic reign, even though at that point, also towards the end of that, it was just, you just lost the unpredictability of it, because you knew he wasn't going to drop that title until it got to WrestleMania at some point. And then, again, we already talked about the Cody thing and the Cena. So yeah, the only reason why it's 2 now, even though I would argue it's still more prestigious than number 1, the World Heavyweight title, it's simply because there is no surprise factor within that title right now. So yeah, number 1 to me is the World Heavyweight Championship. I think they've done a great job within this, just because there's so many competitors. The division is very healthy. I can't say Sami Zayn anymore, but right now, Clash in Paris, we have a Fatal 4-Way. CM Punk, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, and LA Knight. Going to be a very, very fun match. We'll see if Drew and Cody does happen in Clash in Paris. If not, that's easily the main event, that Fatal 4-Way. But the Seth cash-in was really, really good. I know a lot of people didn't like it because they worked an injury angle, and now we can't trust any injury angles, which is why there is so much uncertainty with Naomi, which I understand to a degree. But I really liked it. I liked being work. I do need Seth Rollins and CM Punk to add that extra layer to it, and I think the title does benefit that. Gunther going to squeeze in like a glove when he returns too. I like the Jey Uso reign for what we had. I wish he would defend it a little bit more on PLEs. But yeah, that division, that World Heavyweight Championship division, there's so much depth and there's so much stories going on within it that, again, overall, the division is just really, really healthy. And again, there is that unpredictability I don't expect Seth Rollins to have a long reign. Do I think he's going to drop it here in Clash in Paris? Probably not. But could he? Absolutely, because there is a Roman Reigns also within that bunch as well, who really wants to cost Seth Rollins by any means necessary. And who knows if that's the 42 main event, is Rollins versus Roman for the World Heavyweight Championship. I could see that being the night 2 main event, which would be astonishing that the WWE title goes to night 1 at WrestleMania. That's how much work we've put into that title. That is my ranking right now. Number 11 is the World Tag Titles. 10, Women's U.S. title. 9, the WWE Women's Championship, currently held by Tiffany Stratton. 8, WWE Women's Tag Team titles. 7, United States title, the men's. 6, the Women's World title. 5, WWE Tag Team Championship. 4, Men's IC title. 3, Women's IC title. And then 2, the WWE Championship for the first time ever, and then 1 for the first time ever is the World Heavyweight Championship. Maybe we'll make this a ranking list every single month. Like, we'll just reiterate, like, hey, here's where the ranking lasts right now. Kind of like what they do for college football for the top 25. Like, here's where the divisions lie right now. Maybe we'll make that a thing. Y'all let me know what y'all think about it. But let me know what your ranking of the titles are and the divisions overall. Let's call it like what it is. What's your ranking of the divisions within WWE? Comment below and let me know. Leave a like if you made it this far within a review. I do greatly appreciate it. And again, hit that subscribe button as I am trying to grow into my YouTube career. And until next time, guys, I'll see you here at Lemon Studios.